Good afternoon. I'm Nick Altmeyer with linkinglewiscounty.com. I'm here this afternoon with Ryan Piche, Lewis County Manager. Ryan and I are here this afternoon for our monthly sit-down prior to the monthly Board of Legislature meeting. So the board's going to be getting together tomorrow night for their regular meeting, 5 p.m. here at the courthouse in Lowville in the regular board chambers on the second floor. At 3:30, the board's going to be presented with the annual review from Excellus Blue Cross Blue Shield on the annual review of the insurance plan.
Yes.
And then at 4:15, the Alzheimer's group is going to be giving a presentation as well. And then the regular meeting kicks off at 5.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And we've got board pictures sandwiched in there somewhere too. So busy afternoon for the board members.
Okay. Board pictures too, huh? The official year-end picture?
The official year-end, yep.
All right. And then you guys also, jumping ahead a little bit here, but you guys, this is the last regular meeting of the year.
Yes.
But you guys do have a special session late in December. I think it's like the
21st.
Okay.
Yep. We do have
where
one.
You do the close.
Yep. One more meeting at the end of the year to clean up line items and do all that year-end processing that you have to do. Are probably the longest meetings that we have of the year are always your last meeting of the year and then your first meeting of the next year. So you know how that goes.
Oh yeah. Okay, so back to tomorrow night's meeting. We have 2 public hearings scheduled for anyone in the public that wants to come out and hear their comments heard. The first one is probably our most important topic this month, and that's the local law amending and replacing the junkyard law. So if you just wanted to explain that a little bit. It was in the packet last month, and I think the board set the public hearing date. So, and then they'll actually vote on the law tomorrow night.
So what we're proposing is a series of amendments to the junkyard law that will basically make the law a bit more modern and a bit more easy for our code enforcement team to get the work that they need to get done to serve the community. Specifically, we're talking about amending a section of the law where right now, if we want to investigate a property, we have to wait on a written complaint. And that puts neighbors in a tough position because the only way we're ever going to be able to enforce the rules is if somebody tattletales on their neighbor, and not everybody wants to be put in those situations, and not everyone should have to be. If there's a law, we should have the authority to enforce that without needing a written complaint. So that's one of the big changes. Some of the other changes are more procedural, allowing the code enforcement officers a little more flexibility in terms of how often they need to report things back to the junkyard board. For example, if they get a written complaint now, they have to wait to put it in front of the junkyard board, wait for the junkyard board's action, and then the code enforcement process is long enough as it is. We'd like to be able to take action at notice of complaint or once we recognize that there is an issue with a certain property, and then report that back to the junkyard board rather than having such a delayed process.
Junkyard board only meets every 2 months.
Yeah, exactly.
So it can be a long drawn out process when.
And code enforcement's already a long and drawn out process. If you've ever lived next to or had a property in your neighborhood that needs to be cleaned up, you can tell how long it takes sometimes. So we're trying to make that a little bit better.
All right. So just to summarize, and basically what you just said, basically the only thing that's changing in the law is that now it used to be strictly complaint based, and now if Codes is driving by and sees a violation, they can cite that violation and start the process without a complaint, and just kind of cleans it up.
And without having to go through the junkyard board necessarily.
Right. All right. Second public hearing for tomorrow evening is concerning, we see these quite often, but proposed additions for off-road trails to the Lewis County ATV Trail system. So these are all trails that have already gone through the seeker review process, no negative impacts with environmental or anything like that. So we're just adding these properties into and expanding the system.
Absolutely. Every time we want to add a property to our ATV or snowmobile trail system, we have to go through a rigorous process that includes making sure the property won't have putting ATV and snowmobiles on the property won't have any negative impacts on the environment. We're not cutting through streams or rivers or wetlands and those types of things. And then we have to turn it out for public hearing to make sure that everyone in the neighborhood and the vicinity is okay with adding those properties. So you'll see us do these hearings almost every month.
Yep.
Jackie Mahoney and her team in the Trails Department really pushes hard and does a good job expanding that network of trails in Lewis County, and it's one of our assets that we're really proud of. So we're happy that we've got cooperation from local landowners that want to keep seeing our trails expand.
Definitely, for sure. We have a resolution here, actually it's a local law, which is going to be rescinding the tax cap override just because it's not needed. Basically because you guys, or because the board went ahead and approved the budget at the special meeting in November, the tax levy is now set. The budget amount is now set. Line items can be moved around and changed around in that way, but as far as the tax levy, that's locked in, and we fell in below the tax cap, so that's no longer needed. So
yep. So we talked about this, I think, last month when we talked about our budget. You know, our budget chat that you and I had. But basically, every year we put out a law to override the tax cap, which gives the legislators the freedom to do that if they so choose. This year, as in years past, they have not chosen to do that. We've stayed within the tax cap, so we just have to rescind that local law, and in order to do that, we have to have a public hearing. So
right. And just because you brought up the budget interview, and I just wanted to thank you for doing that, because we've actually, and I know you and I talked about it a little bit before going on camera too, that gotten a lot of people really got a lot out of that, and really appreciated the fact that you sat down with us and explained some of those items out a little bit. So
yeah, I had some really good compliments too. So
yeah, we got a lot of feedback on that. Good. I was actually kind of surprised, because a lot of times people aren't really the budgeting, and it's just
that's one of the more boring things that we do, but it's one of the most important things that we do.
Exactly.
And I was glad to see that people are engaging with these videos.
Yeah,
so.
we were very, very happy to see the engagement with that, and something like, because that's why we like to do some things like that, is just to kind of shed some light on the processes, and on how the government works, and not everyone is always interested in that, but it was kind of surprising how many people were really interested in that video. So good job on being able to talk us through that for us. Our next item here, and basically this meeting, probably the packet size is about similar size as normal, but a lot of it is just signing year-end contracts, renewing contracts, a lot of straightforward things that we didn't really find a lot through there to talk about this time. So the only other thing we got on here was the Resolution 479 2017 is to transfer funds in the 2018 budget, which was going to be next year's budget that was just approved on November 21st. 2018 budget contingency fund transfer $200,000 from the IGT payment. Basically, I think this got explained at a budget hearing or a committee meeting last week, that the budgeted amount for the IGT payment through the hospital was budgeted $200,000 more.
Yeah,
or was
so
that the county's end of it?
That's the county's end of it. We the state determines our subsidy amount that comes from the county to the hospital every year. One payment for the hospital and another payment for the nursing home. Typically, we don't receive the amount from the state until November. So typically that'd be November of 18 that we would hear about this. So when we're putting the budget together, we typically don't count on knowing what that amount is going to be. We planned on it being close to what last year's amount was, but we never know for sure. Well, this year, the state, luckily, gave us information almost a full year ahead. So we got 2018's information in November of 2017. And through that payment that goes to the hospital, we budgeted $1.2 million, and it only turned out to be about $1 million even. So that means we've got $200,000 there that can be used for other things. And Legislator Hathaway had the idea that we should take that money and put it into our contingency fund, because that fund had to be significantly cut in order to make ends meet for this budget year. So he's introduced that basically as an item from the floor from a legislator, and it'll be interesting to see how the board decides to proceed.
Okay. So, and just to refresh anyone's memory that did watch the budget meeting or the budget interview, or maybe you didn't, the 2017 budget actually had, I believe, if I remember correctly, $850,000 budgeted for contingency.
Yes. Yeah.
And the 2018,
870, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the 2018 budget was chopped down to $250,000.
Correct.
Which
Right.
basically what we've spent year to date so far in contingency was about $250,000.
It'd be close.
Yeah.
It'd be close.
So, and Legislator Hathaway had the concern that that might be a little light on the contingency funding. So
it is a little light. It's a little light
Yep.
compared to what we've done in the past. But
So with the over budget on the IGT end, he would feel more comfortable to see that into the contingency fund.
And these are the types of things that, when you're budgeting for a whole year out and you're talking about a, $50 million budget, we know we're not going to get everything perfect.
Right.
But in these situations, the sooner we can get information, the better we can do to make decisions with that excess money, if there is excess money. So.
Right. All right. Well, like I said, everything else on the agenda for tomorrow night is pretty straightforward. If I guess the two big things are the two public hearings. If anybody has any comment they would like to be heard on in respect to that, feel free to come on out. And again, the board meeting will be tomorrow night, 5 p.m. in the second floor at the old courthouse here in Lowville, 5 p.m. sharp. So thank you, Ryan, for taking the time to talk to us today.
Thank you, Nick, as always.
Yeah, and if you didn't have anything else to add,
I'm all set.
we'll see you next month.
Merry Christmas.